Hey, we're live. Hi, Verge.
Hi, Mark. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Welcome to Calculus AB. I
Yeah.
am Mark Corrali. I teach at Ryan High School, but I'm coming to you from this mess.
Yeah. And I'm Verge Cornelius, and I teach at Lafayette High School in Oxford, Mississippi. And I'm coming to you from this mess. All of the passwords have been redacted from my space.
Excellent. I don't have any
all the
visible,
meeting
I don't
IDs
think,
and passwords.
although I think I can see you on my screen there. But
Yep, you can. Yeah, we were working this morning when we took these pictures.
All right, so the final six. So today, our mixed review final thoughts is what it was called originally, although we have been extended a week. Next week, we'll have a couple mock exams. Tuesday, May 5th was originally the calculus exam, but is not anymore. And then next Friday will actually be our final wrap up and send off. So
Can you go back to the messy desk picture, Mark?
I can.
Just for a second. Because as we were getting ready for this last official live, although we're going live next week, we wanted to really connect with you, and we know that your desks probably look like this as well. And I actually cleaned up my desk between now and when I took this picture. And so it's way better if I actually had to take an AP exam. It's in much better shape than it was when I took this picture. And that's part of what we're going to be talking about as we work today. So anyway, go ahead, Mark.
No problem. So our exam is May 12th now, as you all know, at 2 Eastern. We're going to talk a lot about this in a few minutes, but we have our 25-minute period with a 5-minute upload and then a 15-minute with a 5. The YouTube walkthrough video is a 4-minute video. You can get there from that QR code, from that bit.ly, or there's a, excuse me, our Dropbox has a shortcut to it as well. This AP 2020 testing guide, I believe that's what we're going to go through in a few minutes. We're actually we're not going to read all 51 slides, but you probably will see all 51 slides if even only for a couple seconds at a time. In that slide, not only is the link there, but the slideshow itself is in our desktop, in our Dropbox. And I think we're getting back up into nice numbers here. So, to see our young selves for a fourth day. So we're assuming you're warmed up. Verge is going to say a couple words about the circuit. You could do that now or do it after the testing.
No, we'll do it later. Our objective is to really alleviate some anxiety that people are having, both teachers and students, about what this exam experience is going to be like. So we're going to go through that testing guide and spend about 15 minutes on it. And then we're going to do the bulk of our time we're going to spend on calculus. So there is free response practice in today's shared folder. And I am going to touch a little bit on the circuit that we didn't quite finish yesterday. So we'll do calculus after we do the housekeeping things.
Yes. And I do want to say, you said alleviate anxiety will probably cause some for a few people, but please remember it's 11 days until the exam. We want to get this out there now. So if there is stuff you want to clear up, there is plenty of time.
Right. Time to practice. And that's right.
It is not April, it's May. Oh well. But this was released earlier in the week. And so things that are available to you is this testing guide. And again, this is available in our Dropbox, which is down in that description box below this video as always. There's an exam day checklist that you can print off. They'll show you a picture of that in a little bit. What you need, there's a testing demo. It says available May 4th, but many people can go ahead and attest. It's been live for a couple days if you want to see what the interface looks like. AP World Language and Culture exams, will be going quickly over those because they're not our exam, but those are in here. So when you, on your own time, when you want to go through these slides one by one, you can. So, and so this is your table of contents, right? Your e-ticket, 5 steps, what to do on exam day, and how scores are going to happen. So, all right. So this is the first one we're going to take some time on, right?
Yep.
Says you'll receive your e-ticket by email 2 days before each test. You'll get a unique ticket, and this is super important that if you don't get email, we want you to be getting the emails, but if you're not, if you can get into My AP, you can access your ticket there. And that is actually, let's see, the ID number, you're going to want that. Your AP ID number is right there on the e-ticket. But Verge, you said they can actually, one of your students found that yesterday, right? So
Yeah,
if you want
3 of my students actually, because I've been using my students as guinea pigs, that 3 of my students were able to get into the myap.collegeboard.org, and they were able to find their AP ID. And that is going to be the location. If they don't get the email, that is going to be the location of their exam ticket 2 days in advance. So yeah,
Excellent.
you can do it. Take the time to mess around in there this weekend for sure.
All right, and I already circled on this page the relevant things for us, right? That's the entire schedule, but Tuesday, May 12th and 2 Eastern. So make sure you know how to convert into your local time zone. That's
good point, because some of my students were thinking it was at 2 o'clock in the central time zone, but it's actually at 1 o'clock, the same time that we've been going live, which is pretty convenient.
right.
So,
And I know the e-ticket says it's supposed to have your local time on it, but if your profile has you in the wrong time zone, like you never set that when you first set up your AP ID, whenever you did, then that still might be on a different time zone. So I would look at this schedule and I would get into Siri or Google or whatever your preferred search engine is, if you actually use Bing, and search what time is 2 p.m. Eastern in time zone and see what it says. All right. The makeup exams are in June. So ours is June 1st. And I believe one is at 4 Eastern. Yeah. And it says here, if you have a conflict, let's see if I can get my drawer right. That I kind of wrote over it. Anyway, if you don't use your May e-ticket, you automatically get a June one. So you don't have to register for the late exams. If you don't show up for the original, you'll get an e-ticket automatically for this. Or you can request one if something happens. There is no exam after this. So if this happens, make sure you're very comfortable with your technology. And
there's the slide about the time zone.
Yeah, exactly. So that's right. Get that. So
yeah, which means that kids in Asia will be testing in the middle of the night. So I know things are really uncomfortable for a lot of us, but some of us are having real issues with testing situation this year.
Especially if you have 3 nights in a row or something. I guess pretend it's jet lag and start training now.
Right. And actually, talking about training, some folks some teenagers and adults are waking up at 1 or 2 o'clock right now. You got to shift your body back to normal wake up time, because you need to wake up around 9 or 10 your time, I think, to get ready to take a 1 o'clock exam.
You don't want to be getting hungry, still rubbing the sleep out of your eyes.
Yeah.
Okay, so what to expect on the exams? It says it shouldn't be more difficult to get a 3, 4, or 5. Stay calm, read each part of the question. I'm right here. And simply show it now. It says there's no maximum minimum number that can get it. We are grading for readiness. You're not competing with each other for so many 5s or so many 4s. If you're ready for the next course, you should earn credit. And this is important because this is true every year. We've just restated it, that if you don't complete all parts, don't give up and quit, because there's lots of times people leave stuff off and they still make 4s and 5s. So.
Or if it's time to submit and you're not finished, you need to submit, because if you don't submit in time, then you get no points, and you really need 5 minutes to submit. So make sure you understand it's a 25-15, not a 30-20.
Yeah, and Verge mentioned this when we were looking at the slides this morning. Do what you know, right? If you're not sure what to do what you know.
If you don't know what to do what you know, like that, and guess what? There's really only 2 things: derivatives and antiderivatives. Do them.
and limits hiding behind all of it. Yes.
Yeah.
And this is actually, it's funny, I hadn't noticed this earlier, but that's actually the definition of rigor. Is you're asked to use your skills in a new way. So
it's going to be creative. It always is. Even I'm surprised, and I've done this a long time.
Oh,
When I look
yes.
at a problem, I'm always like, whoa, wait
Yeah.
a minute, what are they
Yeah.
asking me here?
The absolutely worst thing you want to hear one of us say is, "Ooh, that's neat."
You know we will.
Oh, yes. My kids hate that. They hear that in class. They know, "Ooh, this is a cool problem." Like,
Oh, that's clever. Yeah.
all right. So, and then, they're just acknowledging why they're giving you less time, that we all have our challenges. Um, and then this thing, I don't, we have no idea how often this will get used, right? This is new to all of us. But if you and your teacher feel you've gotten more than a 3, there's actually a way to appeal. And
No, if
so,
you don't get a score of a 3. So
right,
if you don't get a score of a 3, if you earn a 1 or a 2,
right.
not
So
if
you
you
just,
earn a 4 and you're
sorry,
like, I should have had a 5. No,
right.
no.
That's a good point.
Yeah. If you make a 1 or a 2, or if you earn a 1 or a 2, depending on what part of the country you're from,
Yeah,
um, and you and your teacher both, because your teacher's going to see your work pretty quickly after you take the exam, say this should have earned more points, like this should have been higher. Then there's a way to appeal that process. If you earn that 1 or 2 and you and your teacher both think you should have higher, so relax, like do the best that you can. That's I know it's easy for me to say, but don't forget the adrenaline when you're taking a test is not a bad thing
yeah,
either. You know what I mean?
yeah.
It's like playing sports or giving a recital or something like that.
All right. And so there are 3 ways to submit. Copy and paste, if you want to type it in something you're more comfortable with in a text box. Attaching, you can save and attach, or photos, right? And so we'll look at that briefly. And I like this diagram over here. It looks like just a little like clip art, but they're actually trying to show you 2 windows open at the time is a good idea, right? Have that exam window open and then have wherever you plan on answering. So I know a lot of people don't want to type math. There is a typewritten response tip sheet that is in our Dropbox as well. So
And if you really feel like you do want to type math and you have never done it before, you've got 11 days to practice it.
that's right. Start about and a half hour.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
They do say, make sure you have your API ID handy, because you're going to want to put that at the top of every response. And then they give you what you can: Chrome, Firefox, Safari, or Edge over here. In window 2 can be Google Doc, Microsoft Word, or Notes, like that. And then this is the second version where it's basically the same setup, but here you save it as a docx, a PDF, a text, or an ODT, and then upload that during the 5-minute submit instead of attaching it. So instead of copying it into the text boxes. I think that's pretty much the same idea, right? Everything else is pretty much the same here. And then this is the way I think a lot of our math people are going to do it, because we prefer doing handwritten. Virgin and I both said, get the paper ready ahead of time. They want this. Go ahead, have 5 or 10 pieces of paper ready with your ID and initials. And if you want, to lay out your sheets ahead of time, that's a really good idea. You probably want dark pen or pencil, because realize these are probably going to end up being at some point turned into black and white images, so that people can score them. And then vertical, not landscape, on the photo, and 5 photos per test. So, I guess have 5 pages ready and log in those 5 and upload your photo as a PNG, a JPEG, or a JPEG. iPhones, make sure you turn off iPhone Live so that you're not saving it as an HEIC or whatever HIEC, whatever that proprietary formatting is.
And also, if you're working from your phone, and these are just things that we have figured out because we've already done the demo. You have to do the demo for yourself many, many times on different devices. But if you are working from your phone, make sure it doesn't like auto shut off, like set it to where it shuts off after 2 hours or goes to sleep or whatever. Same with your computer. Make sure it doesn't go to sleep. You're over here writing something. Now your computer's asleep. You try and open it back up. You're wasting time. So
yeah, and some when they lock, when you open it, you're back on your home screen and things like that. It just
these are important things. That's why you got to do the demo several times. Yeah.
Charge it.
Charge it, or keep it plugged in at your desk
keep
or
it plugged in,
workstation.
yeah.
My phone is plugged in right now. Like,
All right.
see?
This is the music theory page. It's good for you to know there's a music theory page. This
And
documents in the drop folder.
Same with
world language, same story. All right. If you have accommodations, don't want to gloss over this one, but we know it's particular to specific people who know what their accommodations are. Please check that website. Contact your coordinators if you need to, but if you have specific devices or aids are used or extended time, all those things, those should still be available. Get in contact with the people on this slide. Okay. The makeup request form, only if you have issues. Okay. If you don't show up for the exam, you automatically are registered for the second exam. Is that pretty much?
Yeah, we need to talk about May 12th, not June 1st.
The exam screen will guide you step by step on the test day. Unexpected things do happen, so that's what this is about. Things to avoid the unexpected. Get into My AP, check your contact information. Start practicing with whatever you're going to use. Like Verge said, if you're going to type, start typing. If you're going to take pictures, practice taking pictures.
And you know what? Lots of you guys listening and watching right now are very bright and are taking 3 or 4 different AP exams, maybe even as many as 6. And you might do different things for different exams. So like for your English Lit exam, you might type. For your world language, you're going to be doing an audio recording. And for your art, you might be submitting a portfolio, and for math, you might be taking a picture. So you got to get that all organized.
Excellent.
Class of 2020 is going to be amazing. And all the folks also younger than that, because they are learning so many life skills in this process.
Yes, absolutely. That's...
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to add to this.
Yeah, prepare your space.
Know what your space is going to look like. Get used to moving things around. You're going to have a calculator, a phone, a computer, paper, a pencil, pens.
I think included in that is communicating with the other people in your house. If you're taking it in your house, that what's happening at that time, and that you need it to be quiet, and you might need them not to be on the internet and all that other stuff. That's part of preparing your space.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I mean, it's funny. I should have taken a picture of it's funny because if you look at that photo at the first slide, my space looked nothing like that the first 2 weeks we were doing this. I've rearranged things several times as I've gotten better at where I want my hands to be able to go.
Definitely.
All right. And again, if you haven't been receiving emails, go there, get in there, make sure your profile's in there, update it. And that's where you can get your ID as well. So. And like Verge was saying, choose your device for each test. Each time you log in, you can log in on something different. So personally, I would have wanted to type the English. So let's see. You won't need lockdown browser. That's important because I know there's people that are concerned about switching from from having the 2 windows open and things like that. They do want you to remove Grammarly. This is not really for us, is it, so much? Oh, here for calculus. There's a link to those, how to type the equations. But again, we have a link to that in our Dropbox. Decide how you're going to type. If you're going to type, these are your text doc files. That's what you're allowed to upload as. And it says you may want to name them so you know you're attaching the right document.
Mm-hmm.
Standard paper, it's easier to photo, right?
Especially in that vertical picture that we're going to do. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and up to 5 pages. So.
Yep.
There's your demo website.
And again, Mark and I have both gone there at least 2 or 3 times. So I would set a goal to do it once a day between now and Sunday the 10th. Sunday the
either
10th, it's going to be too late to start practicing that stuff.
and have a problem to do or something, or have something else to do in the time, because it's a shorter timered version of it. I think it's like 10 minutes on the problem, but it is 10 minutes of staring at the screen because they want you to see how the timer works, how it changes, how dynamic it is.
That's
So,
a good point.
so you don't want
Yeah.
it's 20 minutes of dead time if you're just sitting there just using their demo. So, you can take one of our practice problems, take a book, take your phone, whatever. But, if
I
you're
would
not using your
practice
phone
on
for this,
calculus or
yeah,
on
I
English.
think
if you
practicing
want to
calculus
practice
would
for
probably be
English.
the best, because then you can frame it, make sure it's focused, see how make sure you're not taking blurry pictures. What you need on exam day, you are not art, we're up here. Well, you may be, actually many of you are arts, but for us, there's what we need. So your e-ticket, so on which browser you're going to use, everything. And then they have a star next to it, but that's on that page they mentioned earlier. And it's permitted, but calculator is probably not super necessary. I think we've been doing a good job of telling you when you can stop without touching the calculator. These are your other science STEM exams, world language. Let's see. You can use class notes or study guides, textbooks, and others.
That's part of getting your desk ready.
Yeah, but just like internet searches can waste your time, searching through your notes for 15 of the 20 minutes is not a good idea. If you're going to use notes for the exam, practice with your notes. You'll get used to looking up the things you need to look up. You'll start remembering where they are. You may actually stop looking them up.
Or you might do the work of consolidating your notes onto one or two pages. Yeah, to where you have your own quick tip reference sheet. Because if you take the time to do that, you probably won't need to look at it.
Yeah. And I know a lot of teachers are offering study guides. I would recommend remaking it, even if it's just copying it down and kind of reorganizing it the way you want it organized.
Yeah,
if
copy
it's
it
personal,
over in color.
You're going to remember where it is. It's you don't want to be looking at it for the first time on May 12th. All right. And it looks like if you don't get this email on the 4th, definitely get into my AP if you don't do it immediately today. And that's about it. And that e-ticket does have a number that's personal to you. So you're going to want to make sure you have it.
You know what, Mark, I just want to say that we are taking a lot of time on this, but on my quiz on Sunday, I'm going to ask my students some of these questions.
That's awesome.
So if they've been fast forwarding through this, they better stop right now and rewind and listen. Mm-hmm.
All right. Again, they're just stressing that over and over. And you can check into the exam 30 minutes ahead of time. Probably a good idea.
Good
as
idea,
close to that 30 minutes early as possible. All right. So 30 minutes before you can get in, there's the exam time, the upload time. Do we need to spend time on this page?
Nope.
Music theory, definitely not. World language, nope. And again, do your best, talk to your family, beg, borrow.
You know, and some schools, depending on the situation, might be able to set up accommodations for students who don't have good Wi-Fi, to come and test on their campus in their car or whatever. I mean, these are desperate times, but some of your teachers might mention things like that. That your schools are able to do. So just so you know.
Yep, and there's the charging thing. They say keep it plugged in. I do want to say my daughter's may be watching videos right now, but she's on my wife's hotspot. So I know Verizon is upping the hotspot data, and some other ones are providing them as well. If you can get your parents to do the hotspot for you or for your siblings, that may not be bad either. All right. They're taking security seriously. I would not risk it. Your teachers are going to get to see it before they're ever scored, and they can tag it as looking unusual. You guys can read that. I don't want to be a doubter. But I do want to point out that if they find out that you're cheating, names or reports to college admission offices will be reported. So
they'll investigate, though. I don't want to freak people out.
No, exactly. Yeah, that's
people who are twins, things like that. I mean, things will be investigated, and then reasonable evidence-based investigations
Correct.
will go forward. Other things might just be like whatever, it was flagged, but it wasn't really cheating.
Yeah. And yeah, that's enough about that. Not yet. It's a rabbit hole if we start talking about it. Don't obsess about it, but
only you can preserve your own integrity, and that's just a
exactly.
life lesson.
Yeah, and honestly, my thing is, do you really want to cheat, especially with something like Cal, where there's a Cal 3 and a DiffEQ course? Do you want to cheat into the next course and then be like, I don't know what's going on?
Oh shoot, I'm in the wrong spot.
Yeah, exactly. Can I have my friend answer that? So, all right. So this is what it looks like when you get in. You put your ID right there. Don't use that ID. And then there's a little timer. And then
this is true in the demo. If you go to the demo,
don't refresh your browser. I think that starts the process over. Just wait. Look at how nice that is. I don't know who BB is, but they did a good job. You won't be. This. If you finish early on number 1, you don't get to go see number 2 ahead of time. It's all timed. So, and once you submit, you're done. You can't go back. So, use as much of your time as you need. And it says you can't. Oh, oops, that's important. That's.
So there's no tools on the online version. Yep.
All right.
Unless you maybe take a screenshot of it and then use your own tools or something, right?
Right.
I guess you could do that.
Losing track of time is not considered an anomaly. But there are timers on the screen. And again, that's a good reason to go look at the demo. Just get used to that.
And as soon as the timer counts down and changes from black to red, you need to start your upload process, your take picture process and all that. Otherwise, you are not going to have enough time.
Yep. And it's upload, then submit, or upload, then submit, or paste. You don't want to hit the clear. Don't do that. And then submit. And if you never see that message, look into it. And it says, make sure your submissions have uploaded before you turn off your computer. Okay. It says, if you accidentally close the browser, you can get back in. That's important. Whoops.
You accidentally closed the browser.
That's right. You can quickly click. So you can get back in if you lose internet. That's good. So, and then I think this is important. There's a form submission for if you have problems. Don't call. They're gonna have so many calls coming in that they just don't even want to try to pretend that they can get to all of them. Okay, scoring. They are going to be scored. They're just going to be scored from home by AP high school teachers and college teachers that teach equivalent courses. And it says about July 15th. I think that's about 1 week later than usual. Yeah, in fact, it says that as well. And then here's just a bunch of places that say they're going to take it. Just so you know, colleges have already said they will accept these exams. So.
Yeah, big public universities, small private colleges. You can see Vandy is there, Purdue, UC system.
The entire California system.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. And then some more. Oh, Wheaton.
There's a really nice video that College Board put together from all the college folks. So
a couple more privates, a couple smaller publics. It feels like it's still fading in, but that's the colors they chose. So
it's like in smog or something.
Yeah, exactly. And that may be the last slide. I honestly didn't preview the last slide, so I'm not sure. Nope.
Oh, they're still going. My
There's
gosh.
More. All right.
I think that's the last slide.
Yeah. Chrome, Firefox, Safari, or Edge. No Netscape, no Internet Explorer. Yep, that's the last one. Okay, so that's
Okay.
back to our calendar. All right.
Okay, well, that didn't take 15 minutes. My God.
Yay.
Okay. But Mark, you're going to go ahead and in the folder, there are 2 problems. One is a graphical stem and one is a tabular. Mark's going to go ahead and just do 2 questions from the graphical stem.
Yep.
And then I'm going to go ahead and do 2 questions from the tabular and also talk about the circuit. And I also want to talk a little bit about what's going to happen on Monday during our live. So stay tuned because we'll end by talking about that so you're prepared. All right, so this is the tabular. This is the graphical
That is not a table.
And
you have very strange looking tables in your home.
He's only going to do 2 parts, and you might pause it right now to take a good look at it. He's only going to do 2 parts, and you can do the others as an exercise. We'll post the answers sometime on Sunday, probably, right, Mark?
That is correct. And I believe all the other answers are up online, except maybe yesterday's at this point. So,
okay.
All right. I'm going to do B and D. A, we have done before. So let's see. Not this problem, but similar. So we have this piecewise function f here. It says let f be the continuous function defined on the closed interval -4 to 3. Excuse me. I'm trying to turn something off. Whose graph consisting of 3 line segments and a semicircle centered at the origin is given above. Let g be the function given by g of x equals the integral from 1 to x of f of t dt. So we've done this where you plug in the 2 there, plug in the -2, and look at your area bounded by the curves and that stuff. I wanted to look at B. For each of g prime and at -3 and g double prime at -3, find the value or state if it doesn't exist. Notice it does not say explain, which is interesting, but we will. All right. So g prime of x is going to be that fundamental theorem of calculus. If I take the derivative of the left side, I get g prime x. And if I take the derivative of this integrated statement, I'm going to get f of x. Look for chain, but the chain of x is 1 minus 0 because the antiderivative of f with 1 plugged in is a constant. So it will go away when I differentiate. And then g prime at -3 is going to equal f at -3. So I'm going to come up here. My graph's still on screen. Good.
Yep, looks great. This is so much better than talking about the test.
Yes. Back in our wheelhouse.
Woo!
It looks like it's 3. But let's double check here.
It looks
goes
like it's
up
2,
2 over 2, slope is 1, so up 1 over 1, yes.
So it looks like it's 2.
Yeah.
Back in our wheelhouse, making a mistake a minute.
There we go. All righty. So we get 2. And then we look at g double prime at -3. Well, g double prime of x is going to be f prime of x if I just differentiate both sides of that. And g double prime at -3. Well, now I'm looking for that slope, which I happen to find, right? So that's going to be 1. That's
great.
Going to be the slope of that line segment. So Verge, what would a value that didn't exist look like?
For the slope?
Yeah.
Okay, well, so like because all of those f values are defined, g prime is defined everywhere, but g double prime is not. So we would have an issue at g double prime if we were being asked for g double prime of
if I had done like
2.
1. Okay, you said I'm with the 1, but yeah.
Yeah, -2, +1, and you could talk about the endpoints if you wanted to.
Yeah, g double prime would work, right? That there is a cusp there, or this bizarre happening, but f of 1 is just 0. But this would be I don't even want to put the equals. I'm just going to say
does not exist.
Does not exist.
And you can write D&E. Every mathematician knows what you're talking about.
Yes. In fact, that's why I put a capital D as I started to put D&E. And if they asked for reasoning, it's because the slope from the left is approaching positive infinity or vertical, and the slope from the right of that line segment
is just
is -1/2, and those aren't equal. If they said to use the limit definition, then you could write, the limit as h approaches 0 of g prime, right? G double prime, no, g prime, because g double prime is derivative of x plus h minus g of x. And I'd want, not x is there, but what, ones?
1. Yeah, and you need a g prime on the second.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And because that doesn't exist. Because from the left, the limit is positive infinity, and from the right, the limit is negative 1/2.
Yeah, you could even break that down into one-sided limits if you wanted
And
to.
I could do that, but I'm not going to because we're on a time crunch.
Yeah, but we're gonna take what we need today because I felt like
Okay.
it was important to really
Let's
talk
go.
about that exam info. I think a lot of teachers out there are nervous because they have restricted times that they're allowed to get with their students, and they feel like they need to go over these things with their students. So I feel like at least the kids who are watching right now have had it gone over. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
like you would in your own classroom.
So that's justification.
Mhm.
And notice I didn't put the values.
Yeah.
because I'm sure we all agree with that statement.
Uh-huh.
All right. So now I'm going to move on to D.
And remember, Mark just extended that part B because he thought it was interesting to talk about.
Right.
The other thing is we're talking about part D here because we haven't talked about inflection points, I don't think, in a while.
Certainly not in a graphical STEM.
Not in a graphical STEM, that's right. So we definitely want to talk about these.
So points of inflection. Let's talk about what makes points of inflection happen, right? So the concavity changes, which is not enough,
but that gets you into thinking about it.
Right. So from positive to negative, or vice versa.
Push it up a little bit.
So we're talking about situations where concavity changes from positive to negative or vice versa. So we're looking for places where G double prime equals 0 or does not exist and change the sign from positive to negative or vice versa. So that's our reasoning.
Yeah,
so,
he's done a good job explaining like how he's going to look for these spots.
And again, G double prime, oops, you can't see that. G double prime is F prime. So I'm looking where F prime changes from, well, this is F. So this is also looking, our last little summary here, and I'm going to go ahead and cut this up here to the graph, is we're also looking for where G prime changes from increasing to decreasing. Or vice versa. So we are increasing and then decreasing. X equals -2. Decreasing, still decreasing. There's a kind of a corner cusp thing going, but it's still decreasing. Up until there, and then switching from decreasing to increasing at 0. Increasing to 1, and then decreasing as we move on. So those are my 3 places there are points of inflection. Those are not the points of inflection. They occur at those values. Because what would the points be, Verge?
You mean the ordered pair?
Yeah, so I'd have to go back and find those.
I'd have to go back and find those. That would be a lot of work.
We'd have to go back to the definition, and we're not going to do that because they didn't ask for it.
Yeah, those are the X values, the locations of the points of inflection.
Which is what it asked for. So, right, the X values at which the graph has a point of inflection. And then my reasoning, and you should always refer to your source material. So I really don't want to talk about concavity because I don't have a graph of G. And I don't want to talk about G double prime because I don't have a graph of G double prime. What I have is G prime. So I want to say because I use this, where G prime changed from because this is what happened here. G prime changed from increasing to decreasing or vice versa at these 3 points. Although the way I would normally do it, I would say because G prime equals F has relative max and min at those locations.
You know, one other thing I was going to say is up where you say where G prime changes from increasing to decreasing. You could even say where G prime equals F changes from increasing to decreasing. Like I would put it right there, make that connection right there. where G prime equals
Because you're
F
going to need that
changes.
connection in your statement, right? So,
Well, you did it down below there, but yeah, I would put it up a little higher, but it's fine. It's all
and
good.
honestly, we made that connection in part B, so we could probably not have to restate it, but because we've established G prime equal to F earlier.
Never a bad idea to restate it, though.
Never a bad idea, especially if you're being asked to give reasoning. So, but
Should
that would have been my answer.
Should I grab the screen mark? Okay. All right. Let's see what I can do here. I shared so long ago that it might not remember. Oh, there it is.
We haven't had a joke yet either today.
Okay, here's your joke. Ready? Why did the AP Calculus student who is sitting between twins fail the exam?
Why did this calculus student sitting between? I feel like I've heard this one, but I actually don't remember it.
Because she couldn't differentiate between the two of them. Okay, so this is our 28th live. This we already did. This is from yesterday, and I apologize to students when I say things like, we're going to do this tomorrow, and then it never happens. But I did want to draw your attention to two things from the circuit from yesterday's lesson. One is number 9 is a great example of chain rule. So make sure that if you haven't done it yet, don't forget that that's a chain rule. And then in number 12, we actually had a question from a teacher about this yesterday. I can't remember if it came in through email or it was in one of our social media groups, but this teacher was confused about how to do it. And that's okay. Like teachers ask questions all the time. But the integral from 3 to 5 of f of x times g prime of x plus g of x times f prime of x dx looks like, oh my gosh, what am I supposed to do? What should folks recognize here, Mark, do you think?
FG prime plus G prime F sounds like something that I've heard before in a derivative sense.
Right. So this is actually, this integrand is actually the derivative of a product. So then I'm not going to finish this out, but that's how you would go about evaluating it. This was really F times G. And that's that creative twist where if you haven't seen it before, it kind of takes you by surprise, you know what I mean? And then you have to, so you got to work this stuff and then reach out and ask questions if you're not sure what to do, like that teacher did. Props to that teacher, right?
Yes.
Great job. Well, also as AP teachers, a lot of times we know like how to do stuff in a harder way. And so we think to ourselves, wait, that's not part of the curriculum. And then, but really actually, if you look at it in a different perspective, it actually is part of the curriculum. So that's what was going on with that. Anyway, so our second question that's in the shared folder is a tabular question, and we picked the graphical stem and the tabular because we really think, and we have no inside information, trust me, but we really think these would be good questions that test the conceptual understanding of what's going on with calculus and are hard to search, creative, you know, that kind of thing. Anyway, this one here, there's a table. It says hot water is dripping through a coffee maker, filling a large cup with coffee. The amount of you have a cute mug today, Mark. Show that to everybody.
I had to move my mic a second ago. It's hard to take a big draw from it, though.
It's a Lego mug, and he's got his little figures attached to it.
Pose X-Wing. There's a Cloud City car up here.
Aww. And he's got his Parks and Rec background because of that great show last night, if any of the Parks and Rec fans out there. Okay, back to the problem.
5,000 candles in the wind.
Little horse. Okay. The amount of coffee in the cup at time t, where t is in between 0 and 6 inclusive, is given by a differentiable function c, where t is measured in minutes. Select value of c of t measured in ounces are given in the table above. So select values of c. So in part C, and I'm going to go ahead and do C and D. In part C, it says use a midpoint sum with 3 subdivisions of equal length indicated by the data in the table to approximate the value of the integral from 0 to 6 of c of t dt. And then this part's not relevant because we're not testing unit 8 this year. So it crossed it out. But this part's totally relevant. Okay, so a midpoint sum, we've done a lot of left-hand sums and right-hand sums and trapezoidal sums, but we haven't done a midpoint sum in a while. So I thought this was a good one. The widths are equal, but you can do a midpoint sum with unequal widths, absolutely, depending on how it's arranged. But this would be one of my intervals from 0 to 2. What's the midpoint along that t-axis?
1 is between 0 and 2, and
Right.
the mid between.
Right. So I want the height at 1, which is going to be 5.3. And then times that width from 0 to 2. You can do 2 minus 0 like Mark does, or I just usually write it down. Plus, and then my next interval is from 2 to 4, with the height being 11.2. And then my last interval is from 4 to 6 with 13.8. Now this 2 could stay factored out kind of as a GCF, or you can write it like that.
Right.
When you multiply all this out, if you dare, I think you get like 60.6 or something like that.
You do get 60.6.
Yeah. And we didn't ask for units because the units here are kind of funky. If you think about it for a minute.
Yeah.
But we are going to ask for units on the second one. And so on the second one, it says the amount of coffee in the cup in ounces is modeled by B of T is equal to 16 minus 16 e to the negative 0.4 T. Using this model, find the rate at which the amount of coffee in the cup is changing when T equals 5. Now, here I was told to integrate, but I didn't actually anti-differentiate. I had to know that I went and did area. Same thing here. I'm not being told that I need to differentiate. How do I know? How do I know that I'm not doing area here? How do I know that instead I'm taking the derivative? I want the rate. I want the rate. I want the rate, and I'm given the amount. Differentiate. So here, what would be B prime? You could do it with your calculator because you're plugging in 5. So you can do that numeric derivative on your calculator. So I'm going to go ahead and just do it analytically. I'm going to get negative 16. Derivative of 16 is 0. And then minus 16 e to the negative 0.4 t. But then times the derivative of that exponent, little chain rule there. So times, so many decimal places everywhere.
Yeah.
Decimal points. So times negative 0.4. And then when I substitute in 5, I get B prime of 5 is equal to, well, I did that wrong, didn't I? Were you waiting for me to?
You said it was 0, and then I think it was because when you reread it, you rewrote it.
Right, and there's like 2 negative 16.
Your first negative 16 was your coefficient, but then when you were talking, you ended up rewriting it.
Yeah, okay. And I did this earlier. Obviously, it's like my favorite thing to do every morning, as you guys know. So when you substitute in the 5, these two multiply together and get 6.4, and then e to the negative 0.4 times 5 ends up being negative 2.
Correct.
So you might see it like that, 6.4 over e squared. Oh, I'm going to ask to indicate units of measure. And Mark always does this, which I love. He thinks about dB dt. So the derivative of B was the amount of coffee. So ounces divided by time with respect to time. So this is ounces per minute. Yay. Go back and do your dimensional analysis there. And I just want to say that it's like the Mad Magazine, like you said from before. The other thing that I love about this problem, and I definitely would encourage you to take a look at it this weekend. Here it says
both problems actually. We skipped some rich stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Use the data in the table to approximate C prime of 3.5. Well, in a calculus class, if I want to figure out C prime of 3.5, I just take the derivative, product rule, quotient rule, chain rule, whatever. There's no function here. And you shouldn't figure one out by doing a statistical regression on it. That's a bad idea.
It's not a stat class.
It's not a stat class. Don't use that stat, but really what that means. It means you need to find the slope. That's all I'm going to say. The answers will be there Sunday.
Right.
Okay. We wanted to talk a little bit about what's going to happen on Monday, right, Mark?
Yep.
Okay, so on Monday, we are going to have a mock exam. And our mock exam is going to be literally, we are going to post the question on the screen and you are going to work on it for 25 minutes. There's going to be a timer there as well. Then you start submitting, and I would submit to your teacher, or I would submit to yourself, or I would submit to your friend. I would take the time to submit that answer in some form or fashion, whether it's a Google Classroom or an email attachment or whatever. Take the time to submit it. It's going to be a little bit different than the real test, but at least you realize what it's like to take a picture and email it to yourself and blah, 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 whatever. Then you'll have the second question. And the second question will be the 15 minutes, and we'll have the timer up there and the question up there. And then you'll be working on that. And then you'll have to submit it. So that's what Monday's going to look like. And for my students,
and I will probably call on my phone during that, so you won't have to. Don't worry about us talking the whole time in the background.
No, yeah,
we'll mute ourselves, and
I'll be knitting or something.
We'll be here, but we'll be quiet.
Yeah, I'll be doing something else. But my students are going to have to submit their work to me before midnight on Monday night, because on Tuesday, we're going to go over it. So I don't want them like waiting until 2 days from then to watch the live. They're going to have to do it. We're going to go over it, and then we're going to do it again on Wednesday.
Rinse, repeat.
Mock exam. Yeah. Rinse, repeat, different mock exam. And then we're going to go over it on Thursday. And in our normal fashion, we usually don't finish everything. So we will finish going over the mock exams for sure on Friday. And then we will blow you kisses and wish you luck and have a party. And what else, Mark, are we going to do?
Oh, who knows?
We definitely might sing a song.
We might cry. Who knows?
It'll be like the last episode of MASH.
Social distance hug.
Yeah. We might get our producer to come on screen with us.
That'd be nice.
Fun.
Maybe we can get her to come forward.
Yeah, that'd be great. Right. So anyway, we love you guys. I think Mark has a few more slides for you, maybe not.
Yeah, just the repeats of the slides from the beginning, of course. And then we wanted to share a piece of artwork we got. So.
I forgot about this. This is how bad my memory is. Okay. We only just got this yesterday.
That's not thank you from us. That was thank you to us from a student. It was so beautiful. We asked if we could share it. And so.
Isn't that incredible? And you can see her notes in the background too.
Yeah.
But she just completely smoothed out my face. I look so beautiful.
She was going from a 2-inch photo of you. I think she did a wonderful, definitely captured the essence. Very cool.
Amazing.
Right, thanks, everyone. We'll see you Monday.
We'll see you Monday. Study before then. Mock exam.